We are on lesson 1-13 here in our beautiful class of geometry. 16 strong today at Ziri and Samantha are not with us. Today's date is November 14th. Please put that down. It is 11/14. I don't know why I'm in blue or yellow. 11/14. We have a bunch to get to today. Today is all about rotations. So, review from yesterday. What do you need from a rotation to be able to make a rotation? There's two things. Go back to notes 1-12 if you forgot. Ellery knows, but there's only one person that remembers our lesson from yesterday. The most important stuff. What do you need for each of these? And you don't remember. Uh-oh. Go back and look at your notes. I don't hear enough paper flipping. Two people know. Anna and Ellery. There's only two people in a classroom of 16 that know. 3 people know. Look back at your notes.
I kind of want to chill this.
Ellery, go for it.
You need a point of rotation and a angle.
Write it down. Maybe we'll remember it. Point of rotation, and we need the angle. What happened to my A? Angle of rotation. Now you know it, and you have memorized it, and you think about it right before you go to bed, and you think about it when you are driving here in the bus, you think about it when you're on your skateboard, you think about it when you're in geometry, definitely. Alright, so there's a cool way to say rotate around this point by this angle and rotate that point. You can say all of that, boom, right there. It's super fast. So this is how I read this. Whenever you see an R, you should think of rotation. Reflection will have a different letter, but rotation is going to be R. R for rotation. I'm going to rotate around point C. Point C, go ahead and label that. That is our point that we're rotating around. So that's our point of rotation. So I guess that was number 1. Number 1 up here, our point of rotation. Our theta, by the way, this thing is called a theta. Let's write it off to the side in case you don't know what this is. Theta is pronounced theta with a TH, theta. Can we all be like a kindergarten class and say it together? I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to say theta. 1, 2, 3.
Theta.
Try it again. 1, 2, 3.
Theta.
Okay, well, some of us were not quite doing it. But yeah, it's theta. So it usually represents an angle. We should know this already, but it's an angle. So this is going to be our theta. That's going to be the angle of rotation. That was from 2. We needed the angle of rotation. So those were the two things that we needed. And then we apply this rotation onto something. This can be a shape. It can be a point. This A right here is just the thing that I'm rotating. So I'm going to say thing to rotate. I cannot spell. Rotate. That A right here is the thing to rotate. So that's how to read this. The R means that we're talking about rotation. We're going to rotate around a point. We're going to rotate it by this angle, and that's what we're rotating. And we're going to be using this notation for quite a while. I would say at least a week, definitely all of today. All right, and we have some other new notation. Let me ask you this. What is the pre-image? What is the definition or a synonym for pre-image? Do you remember the notes from yesterday? Pre-image. Anna. Yeah, that's the original. So this guy is the pre-image. And as Anna told us, that's the original. That's the OG, the original gangster. Let me start marking off who's getting points here.
I mean, it's in our participation.
Yep, gotta participate. Gotta get those points, man.
Wow, 30.
Anna just participated. There's only 2 people so far that have participated. Alright, so that's the pre-image. That is the original. So if there's no prime, this thing right here is called a prime, like Amazon. That thing is called Amazon Prime. That's a prime. So if it has the prime, that means that this thing is the image. Quiet raised hand. What is a synonym for image? What's another word for image? India. Yeah, it's the new one. Or the altered one. We'll just say it's the new one. After I apply it, I get this image. This is the before, this is the after. So you can say after here if you don't like new. After. Cool. So whenever you see a prime, you should say, uh-oh, something has happened to the original A. I have either rotated it, dilated it, reflected it, translated it. I've done something to it to get to A prime, because that is the image. The pre-image is the original. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about some cool, fun facts. By the way, in all of math, and I don't actually know the reason, someone just decided it and it is so, the positive direction in terms of a rotation, would you guess it's clockwise, the way that the clock moves, or counterclockwise? Take a guess. Martine, what's your guess? It is actually counterclockwise. Counterclockwise.
Wow.
It's like backwards, right? Normally we always think of a clock going clockwise. I'm guessing it had to do with how things drained in the northern hemisphere. By the way, if you drain something in the southern hemisphere, it does not spin clockwise, it spins counterclockwise. That means when you flush your toilets, it's kind of weird if you're used to them spinning one way versus a different way. Yeah, go to Australia, flush toilets, it's fun. All right, so counterclockwise, and the way to abbreviate that is CCW. Counterclockwise. To abbreviate clockwise, you just say CW.
Why do you look at your toilet when you flush it?
Do you not?
No.
It's like, goodbye, P. It was nice knowing you. You were in my body for a while. No? Am I the only weird one in here, I guess? All right. That's cool. I can be weird. All right, so I'm going to rotate around point C. Point C is my point of rotation. I'm going to rotate it by any degrees. That theta can be any number, so right now it's still a variable. It doesn't matter how many degrees I rotate it by. If I rotate point C, again, point C is the center of rotation. If I rotate point C, it is equal to point C. This means that if I rotate the center of rotation does not change. And this is seen in the stars. The stars rotate, really the Earth is rotating, but from our perspective, the stars rotate except for one point in the sky. That point is the, in quotes, center of rotation. Does anyone know what that star is called? Lorea? The North Star, yeah. Its technical name is called India.
Well, I was gonna say that you're not gonna give some explanation.
Oh, who do I give? Who do I?
Martin and then is Lorraine good?
Martin, you, and Lorea. Yeah, so it's the North Star. The North Star would be the center of rotation. That means if I rotate everything, it stays the same. That's the center of rotation. Isn't it called Polaris also?
Yeah, no,
All right.
it's not that.
Yeah, so this just means center of rotation. Go ahead and write this down. Center of rotation
Yeah, but it's just if you want to like, what am I not doing?
doesn't rotate or doesn't move. You don't move Polaris. You don't move the North Star. It stays the same. And if you wanted to write a note because that makes more sense, you can say North Star. That's the North Star rule. All right. What happens if I decide to rotate by 0 degrees? Nothing happens, right? This says nothing happens when I rotate by 0 degrees. That's all this is trying to say. If I rotate around point C by 0 degrees, and I start with A, it stays at A. So really, if you try to do that again, I'm going to take away HP. So this is...
Actually, you hit me. What do you mean?
Did you hit him?
My face?
Huh?
Did you hit Aurelio, Jaden?
No.
Look
You
that
guys.
way.
All right, so go ahead and mark here.
Smack that.
Ooh.
Rotating by 0 degrees doesn't move anything.
You have proof that I did it?
Jeez, I don't want to come to school.
We know that rule. That's the way to abbreviate that rule. All right, let's talk about how every point rotates by the same amount. So if I have, and this is a cutesy little picture, if I have a point, this is my center of rotation. If I have this point, that moves over here. I can have another point right here, moves right here. But if I go ahead and draw a straight line between here and here, this angle right here is the same angle as this angle right here. Those two are the same angle, even if they're a different distance away. Every point rotates by the same angle. The caveat, the special thing about this, is the reason I have the asterisk here. Every point aside from the center of rotation rotates by the same amount. the center of rotation, because the center of rotation doesn't move. But aside from the center of rotation, so with that little star here, aside from the center of rotation, every point rotates by the same angle if I draw a line to the center of rotation. And then this is the final rule about rotations. This is saying I'm rotating by negative 30 degrees, and then I'm applying that to rotating by 30 degrees. So first, rotate by 30 degrees, then rotate back by 30 degrees. That's the same thing as not rotating it. If I don't rotate it, then it's the same angle. And that's all I'm going to say about that, I think. I don't think we need to write anything down for that. Now I feel bad because I did give myself space to do it.
Really?
Rotating back and forward by same angle. That is the same thing as no rotation. That means you can go backwards. You can get back to the original pre-image. Rotating back and forward by the same angle means no rotation.
They're having fun.
All right, did everyone grab a protractor yet?
No.
Oops, okay. It was in the warm-up, but I should have stated it again. We need a protractor and a ruler. Go ahead and grab a protractor and a ruler, and then we're going to measure the angle of rotation here. All right, so now that we all have a protractor, let's go ahead and practice finding the angle of rotation. So first, make sure that you draw a line from each point to the vertex, or at least 2 points to the vertex. And we've already done that, right? Point A has a line to the vertex because point A is already connected to point D. Point C is already connected to point D, so we already have 2 lines connected to the vertex. We're done with step 1. In example 2, that's not done, so we're going to have to connect D to E and D prime to E, but we're not there yet. So with our picture here, let me use a different program here. With this picture, use your protractor and put the very center, the center right here is not the bottom of the protractor, it's right where all these lines intersect. Put that center of the protractor on the center of rotation. And then I want you to rotate your protractor such that this 0 degrees line matches up with this line that goes from D prime to C prime. So rotate this. I don't know how to use this. There we go. Rotate this so that the center is on the center of rotation, that this line goes on D prime, C prime. We all have that? You should hopefully see that this angle up here goes through these points. So I have to ask myself, is this 85 degrees or is it 95 degrees? What do we think? Colby says 95. I don't know if that's correct. What do we think? 85, 95? Just shout it out if you have an answer. Yeah, it is 95, and the reason is because this angle is bigger than a 90-degree angle, so we should be choosing a number that's bigger. This angle is 95. Make sure that it goes through the 95 on your protractor.
My protractor's like clear, so I can't even see like my stuff when I put it on the paper.
Okay. I apologize that's difficult, but try to make the best of it. So this angle is 95 degrees. Go ahead and notate that on your notes. Write it on your notes. 95 degrees. And you can check, which is really cool too, check the distance between, oh, Mr. Sindel has made a huge mistake.
Ooh, that's how I.
A huge mistake.
So
Because I was measuring between this line and this line. I need to do this line to this line. So I need to go from CD to C prime D prime. I was going from AD to C prime D prime, but that doesn't make sense. What I need to really be looking at, yeah, everyone should get XP for that error. That was a horrible error. We're actually looking at this line right here. This line right here. That looks to be approximately a little bit less than 85 degrees. I'm going to call that 83 degrees. Or sorry, not 83, 77 degrees. Can you silence your cell phone? I'm going to call that 77 degrees, so I apologize. It's not 95 degrees. I have no idea what I'm talking about. It's coming back here. We can see it's a little bit more than 70, a little bit less than 80. It's a little bit bigger than 75. I'm going to call it 77 degrees.
Boom.
But that's cool too. So what I want you to do now is use the protractor, rotate it a little bit. Rotate it a little bit so that it's going on A prime D prime, and you can see that the angle that AD makes is the same exact angle. The same angle. It doesn't matter which two you decide to measure. You can just use two to double check your work. It's the same angle. It's still 77 degrees. It's still this angle right here, 77 degrees. The point here is how to use a protractor, how to draw lines through the center of rotation. Are we okay so far?
Yeah.
After we do the next one, we're going to do our fist of 5 to tell me where you're actually at.
I'm at a 7.
All right, so find the angle of rotation. For this one, it's going to be a little bit harder because you need to draw points to E. So that's why you have your ruler. I guess you could use your protractor because it's such a small angle. Either draw a line from D to DE and D prime to D, or D prime to E, or you can do any other point. Draw 2 points, C and C prime to E, or D and D prime to E. As long as you have 2 pairs of points, you should be able to find the angle of rotation. Go ahead and do that now. So we're back. We're having a little bit of difficulty, so we're all going to do this together. I said that the first step you should do is draw a line from D to E and D prime to E. And that worked. So I'm going to go ahead and use my tool here to do that. So from D to E and from D prime to E. The problem is when I use my protractor and I put the center on the center of rotation, I rotate this correctly, this line doesn't really intersect out here. So that means that my first step should be to actually extend this line longer so that it will intersect the protractor. So I'm going to come back here. I have technology and I can just make this longer, of course. But you need to extend your line with your ruler, with your protractor, some straight edge. Just extend that line. That way when you bring the protractor back down, it actually hits this line somewhere. Or it hits the protractor's outer edge.
Mine's not as accurate as yours.
And that's okay because we're just going to have to practice using a protractor. If you're off by 5 degrees, I will still give it to you.
Where did you do that? Which degrees?
So on mine, it looks like it's about 50 degrees. It's going through 50 on mine. So if you're getting 55 or 45 or even better 50, you're getting it correct.
It's right on the dotted line.
I need a stretch.
So are we all getting roughly 50 degrees? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down if you are getting this successful or not getting this successful.
Sure.
Oh, that's lots of thumbs up. Is there anyone that still needs help with a quiet raised hand? No. Okay, so that means if I come back over here, my angle here is 50 degrees. And I could have done that a different way. This you don't have to write down. Here's my different way of doing it. So let's move this out of the way. If I go ahead and get rid of this line, here's my original image. I could have done this. Please be paying attention. I could have gone from C to E and from C prime to E. If I did that, Jaden, Chewy, what are you doing? I said, quiet and pay attention, you guys are talking.
I was asking what angle you drew.
I appreciate that it was about math, but can you please pay attention?
Yes.
All right. I could have gone from C to E and C prime to E. I'm going to go ahead and put my center on the center of rotation. I'm going to rotate this until I have it on a line like that, and it looks like it's still 50 degrees on mine. It doesn't matter which 2 points you use as long as it's the same image and pre-image. This was the pre-image, this was the image. I can't go from C to A prime, that wouldn't make sense. I go from the pre-image to the image. All right, let's go to the back. This is the harder of the two, finding the center. The first part was just measuring. The first part was finding the angle of rotation, finding number 2. Now we're going to be finding number 1. We're going to be finding that point of rotation. So here is, I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you because we're a little bit short on time. This is how you find the center of rotation. Everyone follow along. First, draw a line, and I guess I should be doing this in the other program so I can be doing this correctly. Come back here, new line. Draw a line that's between B prime and B. B prime and B.
Connect those two?
B prime and B. So I'm going to come here. So you should have something that looks like this. B prime and B. Yes, we're good?
That's
You're drawing a straight line from B to B prime to B. That's a line segment. We're good. Then you're going to do a construction that you should have already memorized because this was on the quiz, this was on everywhere. We are going to make a perpendicular bisector. A perpendicular bisector of this line segment. Do you remember how to do that? Give me a fist of 5. 5 is, yes, I totally got that. 1 is, I totally forgot. Or 3 is, I could get it if I had some time. Perpendicular bisector. Lots of things. Everyone has a 4 or above. Go ahead and, oh, not everyone. Go ahead and do that. I will give you a 30-second head start. I forgot that we needed a compass. I apologize. Go ahead and grab a compass. Do a perpendicular bisector of this line. All right, so for those of you that forgot, let's go ahead and bring up our compass tool. That is the wrong thing that I'm trying to do here. All right, so our compass tool, I'm going to put one tip, the metal tip over here on B. Oh, that's the wrong thing. I need to move this. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to make something that is slightly more than halfway. Slightly more than halfway. And I need to go like this. Slightly more than halfway. So this length right here is slightly more than halfway. And then I'm going to make a circle.
Wow, that's cheating.
And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to put the tip, and I should rotate this over here. I'm glad we can be so mature in here.
Wow.
And then I'm going to do the same thing over here with the same size circle, like that.
That's pretty trap.
Okay, I don't need this anymore. Go away. So now the intersection points, I'm going to make a straight line. There's my line. Perfect. I'm going to do the same exact procedure between A prime and A. What will eventually happen is this perpendicular bisector here, and maybe I should have done that perpendicular bisector in a different color to let you know that that is, whoa, what's going on here? That perpendicular bisector is super important. Super importante. What do we got here? I need to change the color here to red. I'm not quite used to using this program still. You're doing that same procedure now between A prime and A. Find the perpendicular bisector. I'm going to be doing it quietly up here in case you need to follow along. So of course our first step was to make the line between A prime and A. From there we are going to use our compass. Move down our compass. Put one tip there. We're going to drag this amount right there and draw a line. This point right there, draw a line, and then we don't need that anymore. Then I'm going to make my new line. I'll make it blue. It goes through there and there. Bless you. All right, so everyone should have a perpendicular bisector for both A prime, and B prime.
Wow.
Notice that those will intersect each other. That intersection point right here is your point of rotation. So let's go ahead and label that. This guy right here, that is our point. Oops, so right there, that is going to be our
Edge, mine was a whole better.
point of rotation.
The whole course
Of rotation. Done. Do you guys think you can try that on your own?
Yeah.
I think you can try it on your own. I think you guys are good. Try it again for example 3. Find the center of rotation. You need to choose 2 points, the image and then the pre-image and the image. So like A to A prime or E to E prime, just choose 2 pairs of points, perpendicular bisectors, and then where those perpendicular bisectors intersect is your center of rotation or your point of rotation. Yes. F to F prime is a good one, and then anything else works. I will give you this hint as well. The closer your lines are to being perpendicular, so for example, A prime to I guess all of them are pretty perpendicular. To B prime, for example, these lines are so close to being parallel that those will not be the best pairs of points. Try to choose things that are slightly more angled towards each other. So A prime and E prime would be a better choice.
Well, that is not straight.
Yeah, I'm not using my line tool.